Hi everyone, this is Dean. Welcome to this little mini interview I'm doing. Today I'm here with Stanley. We're going to talk about the booth for produced by Bleakheaven Comics at FanX this year in September. The booth, I believe it's called the Dragon's Lair Dungeon Quest. But just wanted to invite Stanley on to ask him some questions about what's going on. Stanley, I guess if there's anything else you want to introduce yourself with.
Well, I appreciate you bringing me on the show. I do all sorts of comic books and all sorts of things. So the Dragon's Lair is actually based off of one of our comic books. It's called Brynoch the Destroyer. It's a webtoon, actually. So anybody can read that for free. And it's more of just a more lighthearted, fun D&D based thing. So I've partnered with my artist, Rufus. And we've partnered with some other local businesses. One of them is Locally Twisted, which is a balloon company. And they're going to be the ones with the manpower to actually put the dungeon together as, you know, a big balloon environment with balloon monsters and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. So like there'll be a dungeon that people can go into at this booth?
Yeah, so that'll be the main event. And it's not actually a booth. It won't be on the main floor. We're going to be up the stairs on I believe it's the east side of the building. And the dungeon will be in a big room, and actually a couple of rooms. So we have several rooms upstairs where people will be able to wait in line outside and then go in groups as, you know, a party or by yourself or whatever. And you go in and you can fight monsters. You go on little quests. We have you can also get loot like gold and other prizes and stuff in the dungeon, and then you exit out the Wizard's Bazaar, which is like the gift shop. So we'll have other D&D or high fantasy related booths and stuff in that area, so people can wander around, purchase things. There'll be games, there'll be places to exchange your gold for certain things, and so it'll be a big full experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like how it's like interactive, makes you feel like you're in a dungeon and then you can go spend your loot. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. What got you into the realm of D&D, comics, tabletop RPGs?
Oh gosh. First of all, my wife, when we were dating, she actually got me into Dungeons and Dragons.
Nice.
But it's the first time I ever played was with her, and then we just kept playing. That was years ago. It feels like we just barely started, but that was, gosh, nearly 7-8 years ago now.
That's cool. And then is this your first FanX that you've been at, or have you been doing this for a while?
We've been doing it for a while. This will be our, I believe, 4th year doing FanX, 4th time, I guess. So we started in 2021. The comic book company was started in March of 2020, which was not a good year to start a business.
Yeah.
And, yeah, right on the onset of when everything happened. So we were really excited in 2021 to start getting into conventions and that sort of thing. And FanX was our big thing. So that was our first year. We had a pretty small booth. And then 2 years ago, we had a larger booth that was a lot nicer, and last year was pretty good as well. This year's when we were partnered with Rufus to get this balloon thing done. The balloon event has been around for a couple of years ago. Rufus pitched it to them. And then last year was kind of the prototype. For this year's, it was also a Dragon's Lair. You go in and try to find the dragon's egg, but this year we've expanded it to be more exciting and more fun and more interactive. So there'll be more monsters than just the dragon. There'll be different things coming out of the walls and that sort of thing, and obviously stuff to find. So there'll be gold coins to find. There'll be different quests to complete within the dungeon itself. We're going to have Brynoch the Destroyer, the main character of my comic book, is in the dungeon, and if you find him, you can get a little prize, all that kind of stuff. So we're trying to make it as fun and interactive as possible this year. Really go all out.
So it's all based off of your comic book, right? And you said that's a webtoon?
It is. So if you just look up Brynoch the Destroyer, and Brynoch with spelled Brynoch, and you can just find it on webtoon, and you can read it there.
Well, I think I'll put the link in the episode description.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And that's all just based off of Dungeons and Dragons. I really wanted a less cynical take on Dungeons and Dragons and adult humor and fantasy in general. So it's really based on just having fun with your friends. The whole idea is, what does it look like in universe when you and your stupid friends play Dungeons and Dragons?
Nice. So then for the comic book, are you like just producing, or are you illustrating, writing? What's your role with that?
So I'm the writer of Brynoch the Destroyer, and editor. That's my main role at Bleakheaven Comic Books is editor in chief. So I edit all the books we've done so far. I haven't written all of them, but Brynoch is one that I've written, and it's more of a collaborative process. I'm the one that actually sits down and writes the words for the page, that sort of thing. But all the ideas and all the stuff I come up with, it's not just me, it's my whole team. It's kind of our just whatever we want to do comic book, just fun, silly book.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then for this attraction, I guess there's the balloon thing. But is there anything else that you're excited for at FanX for this attraction?
So yeah, I'm really excited to see the characters of Brynoch the Destroyer come to life, because we're gonna have actors playing all the characters. So the wizard and cleric are going to be out in the crowds and stuff, trying to get people to save their friend Brynoch, who went into the dungeon and hasn't come out. And they also need the magical item that's in the dungeon. So that's kind of the main quest that they're going to be sending people on. So they're the quest givers, and then Brynoch's going to be in the dungeon with another character, and then there'll be the remaining characters in the party in the Wizard's Bazaar just hanging out. So that's one thing I'm really excited for, is just seeing these comic book characters really come to life.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's like, I feel like part of D&D is like you get to become the character of and be in the story. So I feel like it's cool you've been creating these, and now you get to see them, basically. That's cool.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And I'm excited for other people too, because this is a good way to kind of LARP, for lack of a better word. You can go with your party, your D&D group, and go through this dungeon. And there's also buffs you can get to. You can either buy them or win them through different games and that sort of thing. They're going to have balloon axes and swords and shields and stuff to help you throughout the dungeon as well. So it's a thing we want people to be able to go through multiple times as well, and have it be different every time. You go through, you get a discount back through, you get maybe a different weapon or a different shield or potion or whatever.
That's cool. Yeah. Oh, I think so. I'll be there. So I'm excited now too. I wanna check out this dungeon. You're gonna be there? Are you gonna be hanging out in the Wizard Bazaar, or?
Yeah, I'll primarily be in the Wizard's Bazaar. So that's where my booth is going to be. That's where we're gonna have all the other Bleakheaven comic stuff. Is going to be in the Wizard's Bazaar with everybody else. So we'll be one of the main booths in that area.
That's awesome. When you were thinking of your comic, I guess we already touched on this, right? You wanted it to be just fun, friends, none of that cynical D&D stuff, right?
Yeah, not cynical, not too serious, just a fun, good time. Brynoch the Destroyer, and then as an extension, this event, I really wanted it to be just lighthearted and fun. Having, going to fight monsters and make jokes with your friends, and, just have a good time with that fantasy element, and come together with your friends, or even meet new strangers and new friends, and just play, more physical versions of Dungeons and Dragons almost. So
Yeah.
This event really, to me, is bringing the comic book to life, making it more tangible. Not just the comic book, but D&D as a whole. Because the
Yeah.
comic book really, I try to encapsulate that fun aspect of it, that excitement of adventure, and being in it with your friends and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's like, instead of just being like serious medieval, it's like, well, this session we just laughed or at the weird goblin or whatever. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
D&D can be so much fun and goofy, and it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to make it so real and grim.
And I think that there's a place for those, the more serious stories. I've certainly got some, I've played serious campaigns and that sort of stuff, but in every serious campaign, you still have these goofy things, because as you play Dungeons and Dragons, it's just, there's a lot of absurdity that comes if you apply it to real life. You know what I mean? Like the way characters interact with each other and interact with the people around them, the NPCs and that sort of thing. And there's just a lot of absurdity that's inherently there. And I wanted to capture that with the comic book itself, is just like, what does this look like in a universe where everything's goofy? The DM doesn't know what's going on. That's the premise of one of the comic books, is like, the players want to talk to a character the DM hasn't, developed at all, just just somebody who's a background character, that sort of thing. So I try to think about, not just what the characters are doing, but also in context of, this is a D&D game. So how is the DM reacting to the silliness, and what, is going on with the characters and the players, and how their dice are rolling and that sort of thing. So that's all stuff I kind of think about while I write the book.
Yeah. When you're writing, do you ever base what you're writing off of like what you've actually played in D&D?
So the first story is based on an actual session. So Brynoch the Destroyer was a campaign that I played with my wife that she DM'd. And just a couple other friends came by, and we just wanted to kill time, so we just made these absurdist thing. Brynoch the Destroyer is actually a name that I've had in my mind since high school. It's because when I was in high school, there was this program that was left on a table somewhere, and my friend and I were reading it, and some kid's name was Brynoch. So we were making fun of it, saying, "Oh, Brynoch the Destroyer, like an eldritch beast or something."
And look where it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's here. And then I took that name, and I'm like, I want to play a character I've never played before, because I've always done like wizards and stuff. I wanted to do a barbarian, so I made up this orc, and gave him name Brynoch the Destroyer. And my whole goal with it was just to have fun. And then everybody else made silly characters, and it was accidentally, we all created characters whose names started with B. So that's in the book too. Everybody's
Nice.
all the parties' names starts with B. There's Brynoch, Bree, Blockus, Ben, and Baisley.
Wow. So then those characters they're in the comic book. Are those some of the ones we'll see at the attraction?
So yeah, I'm trying to have the full party in the book. So the book, again, the main, it's a very episodic thing. So there's different, they go on different adventures, but it's always the same core 5 characters. So it is a D&D party that's going through. They have a main quest, but they're always sidetracked, right? So they're never doing main quest. They never really touch on what they're actually supposed to be doing. And when they do, it gets derailed.
Of course, as one does in D&D, all the side quests, you got to complete everything.
Yep, you got to do all the side quests, and then the main stuff just gets lost. So that's where they are, and in the comic book, we jump right there. They've been captured at the beginning of the comic book. So like I said, the first episode is based off of the books, or the game we played. That was one of the last sessions we did before, we all kind of just weren't able to play anymore. Yeah. And so I used that as I skipped to the beginning part of the campaign and everything. I just decided that was a good starting point, was the end of that campaign. And then, characters come and go, but the main 5 are always going to be there, because I always view it in writing style less like an epic, grand, high fantasy adventure, but I write it more like a sitcom. So So the main focus is the different characters and how they interact with each other. So different episodes or different stories focus on different characters and their relationships with each other.
Okay, that's really cool. Yeah, I think character interactions are some of my favorite parts in stories and books anyways, because I feel like that's how you can see like them grow. But then also that's where you get a lot of the humor, just like silly things said to each other.
Well, and that's what I really focus on, because this party is always at each other's throats. Pretty much, they're always fighting. They're all still friends. They all like each other and care about each other, but they care about each other differently. For example, Ben is an elf who doesn't like to fight, so he's like a blue blood noble. He was forced to go on this adventure. He doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to fight. But he's still friends with everybody, and Brynoch cares deeply about him, and he wants him to have honor, so he forces him into dangerous situations so he can gain honor. So there's a lot of that where everybody thinks they're right, and they don't really consider what everybody else is thinking either, and they just all kind of they'll just kind of do whatever.
Yeah.
And I really wanted, again, to avoid the cynicism of it, I tried really hard not to make any of them bad people, but all deeply flawed.
Yeah.
And so that's where a lot of the fun comes from, because I wanted them to be likable to some extent, but none of them are like, these amazing noble heroes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I feel like that's part of, at least for me, part of the fun of like in our podcast and stuff. I guess there's a little bit of like the hero stuff going on, but like for the most part, a lot of our characters are like just doing our best. We have our own goals, and like just we mess up, and that's why I actually liked starting at level 1, because at level 1 you're like real weak still.
Yeah, you can't do much.
Yeah,
it's true. So yeah, that's really what the book's about.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is the Dragon's Lair that we'll see at FanX, is that based off of any episode in the comic?
So the Dragon's Lair itself won't be specifically based on any one episode. There are characters and monsters that appear in the books that are going to be in the Dragon's Lair. And we did a little promo for last year's that we'll probably kind of reskin for this year, in terms of a comic strip.
Yeah.
To promote the event. And that gives us a little bit of backstory, but that's really about it. There's just one promo about it. The rest of the stories are all just different. I just figure this is another one of their adventures that could just fit anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the benefit of being episodic, and just like being able to have a new adventure anytime kind of thing. Just tie it in.
Exactly. And they just go on all sorts of random adventures. I think the one that's currently being worked on right now is they're going to like a Disneyland type place, so
that's cool.
That one should be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's got Ricky Rat.
Who was that?
Ricky Rat, the mascot for the Golden Kingdom amusement park.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's the one that we're working on right now. It comes out, periodically when we have time to get it out. So that's the story that's going on now.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on and talking with me, Stanley. I'm excited to see the Dragon's Lair and meet those characters now. I'm going to go check out your webtoon right after this, actually. I didn't know I knew it was comic, but I didn't know it was like free online.
Yeah, this is our one. Like I said, we have several titles and stuff. One of the titles we actually do is with the charity called Stand for the Silent Learn Anti-Bullying and Suicide Prevention charity organization, and we have other comic books in the same universe. So we have a main universe that we do comic books for, but we have a couple webtoons that are just more silly and fun.
Yeah. So any listeners listening, head to the Dragon's Lair, go on a quest, save. Oh, I'm gonna butcher his name. Belrock? No.
Brynoch.
Save Brynoch, and then spend some loot. Go check out the comic book stand. I know that Trent and myself and David, I believe, will be there at the. I think we're going to be volunteering as DMs somewhere else, but then we'll also probably be hanging out there, checking out everything, saying hi to anyone who wants to say hi. Thanks so much, Stanley, for talking to us. I'm real excited for FanX this year.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for letting us on your show.
Yeah. Well, listeners, check out FanX. We'll see you there.